Hello, this is Justin Vaughn with Miramed Global Services. Our topic for today's article is the Alzheimer's apocalypse, future occupants of America's hospitals. Let's begin. Something strange happened in Cleveland late last month. Joe Biden was giving a speech on the economy when he made the following statement, quote, "You know, if we don't do something about Alzheimer's in America, every single solitary hospital bed that exists in America, as the nurses can tell you, every single one will be occupied in the next 15 years with an Alzheimer's patient. Every one," end quote. Come again? Now, one's first take on this startling assertion might be to assume he meant that 15 years from now, every hospital bed in America would be filled with an Alzheimer's patient. In other words, there would be no room for heart patients or trauma patients or any other kind of patient because all the available beds would be taken up by those who are literally losing their minds. Now, if that's the case, that would be an extraordinary prediction. And you'd have to presume it must be based on some set of facts or scientific data to which a president is uniquely privy. This section is entitled, "A Matter of Meaning." For those who think he may have simply misspoken, he actually made the same statement nearly word for word 2 months earlier in Columbus, except that he used 20 years as a cutoff date instead of 15. The problem is there is no evidence we can find that would seem to support Mr. Biden's prediction, at least based on the interpretation of that prediction that we earlier cited. The June 9 edition of the Washington Post did a piece on the odd pronouncement. No matter how they tried to evaluate the available data, including the aging population, current number of beds, and projected growth in hospitals, they couldn't make the numbers jibe with the Cleveland statement. In fact, the Post called it a, quote, nonsensical claim, end quote. But is it? Does Joe Biden have inside knowledge about a coming mental crisis? Such prescience is not unprecedented in recent times. Recall that just before Donald Trump took the oath of office, the director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, Anthony Fauci, confidently announced at a pandemic preparedness meeting at Georgetown University that the 45th president would face a, quote, surprise infectious disease outbreak, end quote, at some point during his administration. That was exactly 3 years before COVID hit. Now, it could be argued that this was a reasonable prediction based on the historic patterns of such outbreaks in America over the recent past. For example, there was the West Nile virus of 1990 through 2002, followed by the SARS-CoV of 2003. These resulted in thousands of cases in the U.S. and hundreds of deaths. More serious was the swine flu outbreak in 2009, which took the lives of about 12,000 Americans, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, or CDC. So it's possible that Dr. Fauci was simply playing the law of averages in making his prognostication. Perhaps Mr. Biden was doing the same with his. This section is entitled, "Accounting for the Numbers." It is true that there is a growing number of Americans who are entering their golden years. The baby boomer generation has long since turned gray, with current members ranging from their late 50s to mid-70s. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, individuals aged 65 and older represented 16.3% of the population in 2020. By 2040, just 19 years down the road from where we are today, that number will reach 20.4%. But is that enough of a jump to account for the every hospital bed in America prediction? It's possible that this prophecy was meant to be taken cumulatively rather than concurrently. That is, it may be that the first take in interpretation that we had of Mr. Biden's statement was incorrect. Instead, perhaps what he meant to convey was that over the duration of the next 15 to 20 years, every bed that currently exists in America today will at some point be occupied by a person with Alzheimer's. This is quite different from the initial vision that we received in our heads of no beds being available for heart, cancer, ortho, or other patients. There are currently 920,000 acute care hospital beds in the United States. While Alzheimer's and other dementia range patients are typically treated in long-term care facilities rather than acute care hospitals, these patients do occasionally find themselves going to local hospitals and medical centers. For example, an Alzheimer's sufferer falls, breaks a hip, and finds herself transferred from the nursing home to the local hospital. While that facility's bed would suddenly be occupied by an Alzheimer's patient, the patient is not there to receive treatment for her mental disease. Could it be that Biden's calculation took such scenarios into account? According to an analysis performed by the Times that was based on data provided by the American Hospital Association and the Alzheimer's Association, there are a total of 36 million hospital stays per year of all types. 36 million. Of those, 7 million stays are connected with individuals who have a diagnosis of some form of dementia. So currently, at least, mentally impaired individuals account for 19% of annual hospital stays, meaning there are plenty of beds to go around for other patient types. The demographic changes expected over the coming 15 years or so would not seem to be sufficient to change these percentages to the point where we would reach the 100% of stays mark, though Alzheimer's patients should show some moderate statistical rise. The bottom line is that there appears to be no basis to believe that Alzheimer's patients will be overcrowding hospitals 15 years from now, at least for the express purpose of treating their mental disorder, unless Mr. Biden knows something we don't. Unless there is some factor currently hidden from most of the medical community that would contribute to the mass deterioration of Americans' mental status on an unprecedented scale, it should be safe to assume that America's hospitals will not be converted into mental treatment centers over the next decade or two. Yes, there will be more patients with broken bones and heart disease and organ disorders who may happen to have a secondary diagnosis of dementia, but it won't involve every bed in a concurrent way, and it won't represent 100% of the hospital stays. To the extent you can plan for a moderate statistical increase in these types of patients, whether that be preparing specialized treatment protocols or the training of staff, you are encouraged to do so. We don't anticipate a zombie apocalypse, but hospitals should be sufficiently prepared for a changing demographic and all that comes with it. We at MiraMed Global Services are dedicated to assisting those who care for others. If we can assist your facility from a business solution perspective, please contact us at info@miramedgs.com. Thank you.